Welcome back to the Guitar Power Hour. Our guest today is Rory Rummings, and he's one of my favorite guitar players in the Denver area. I've seen him play with his band Cloudcatcher a bunch of times over the past 6 or 7, maybe even 8 years or so. I originally found out about Cloudcatcher because I met the drummer Jared Handman just by pure coincidence. It was not in a musical context of any kind whatsoever. I just moved to Arvada, Colorado, and happened to go into this ice cream shop called Scrumptious, just checking it out for the first time. And Jared was working there. And I guess we both looked enough like musicians to where the conversation kind of went down that path. And he ended up inviting me to this Halloween party that Cloudcatcher was playing. And I don't know how long exactly Cloudcatcher had been a band at that time, but I know it wasn't very long. This was one of their first few shows, maybe even the first. I'm not entirely sure, but it was just it was a friend's house having a Halloween party, and they had bands playing in the basement. And I just could not believe how good the band was. I was not expecting it to be that great, and they just always got better and better and better. And I didn't think Rory could get better at the guitar because of how great he already was. And he always found a way to get better and better and keep improving. And it's really interesting to hear about how he got from knowing nothing on the guitar to where he is now. One of my favorite guitar players to watch live too, and he just really brings it. So I think you're gonna enjoy this one, and he's got some cool stories and insights. So let's get to it.
So what got you started playing guitar in the first place? Like, where did that interest get sparked from?
I grew up in a household where, man, music was played all the time, specifically like heavy metal, hard rock. My parents grew up in the 80s, and my dad is like a huge Maiden fan, so Iron Maiden's kind of the root of it all. I'd say Iron Maiden, like Sabbath and Van Halen. I mean, yeah, just kind of like growing up, like you're a product of your environment, I guess. So yeah, just growing up, I always like I always like heard the drums and the bass and the vocals, but like the guitar always just like stood out to me.
Uh-huh.
I mean, not to say that like bass can't be melodic, because that is like the melody, but like the guitar kind of just like further like elaborated on the melody and like kind of like pushed like the melody of the main song to new like heights almost, and like expanding on it essentially, and like that always just blew my mind. Or I remember like going on road trips and listening to Van Halen 2, the classic Van Halen album. I know, cliche, but like yeah, man, just like hearing the shit he would do with like, I didn't know what a whammy bar was at the time, or like what flange was, or delay. So like hearing all these crazy alien sounds to me when I was like, 7, 8, 9 just blew my mind, and kind of like, I don't know, it always just like stuck in my head. And then so basically just kind of like growing up with rock and roll got me interested in guitar. And then when I was like 9 years old, my Uncle Johnny bought me a Squier Bullet, like a really small Stratocaster.
Yeah,
it was
like a half scale or something?
Yeah, super small, like Lake Placid blue. And I remember I took like maybe like 4 lessons every Saturday, and I just was not...
Was that part of the gift? Was the lessons?
No, I mean, I guess my parents thought it'd be a good idea for me to take lessons. I mean, I totally get it. But I wasn't really... I'm the kind of person where like I love to learn stuff on my own. I was super excited to get a guitar, but yeah, I just like to learn stuff on my own. So I kind of like just wanted to pick it up on my own and do it play when I want. So doing those lessons kind of like was very... I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It was just
rigid for you.
Yeah, and especially when you're 9.
Yeah,
it's like I want to like... You know what I mean? Unless you're 9 years old and you want to learn a guitar, you're going to want to go play like video games and go outside.
Well, at least that format of whatever the lessons was just wasn't working for you.
Yeah, totally. And I remember like the guitar teacher I had was super cool. It was over at like Rockley's or whatever on Colfax.
Uh-huh.
The dude was super cool, but like I just remember him drawing like all these chord diagrams, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I think the lessons were like maybe like an hour, hour and a half each time.
Yeah.
And he's like, like next time you come back, like I want to see like if you can play this chord that's drawn. You know what I mean? Because he'd like draw it out. I didn't like it was in tablature or whatever, and I would come back and I'd be like,
So
like,
what was up with that? Do you think that you didn't understand how you were supposed to do what he wrote? Or so you felt kind of confused, or you did understand it, but you just didn't like it, or?
I think I was more confused, but at the same time, it was more of that I didn't care because I wanted to learn on my own, and I didn't want to have like a I don't know. I just didn't want to have like a limit or like a rule imposed on me that I have to do this. You know what I mean? I think even at that young of an age, I was like, music should be fun, and it's something that you should want to do. I mean, like learning music's awesome. I mean, guitar lessons and all that stuff are like pivotal. I mean, we talked about this a bunch, but like.
Well, I know that obviously that I teach lessons, and you are starting to do that.
Yeah.
But I also want you to know too, don't feel like this is anything to do with promoting lessons.
Oh no, totally.
So you don't have to hold back any opinions whatsoever.
No. Yeah. So I guess basically, it was I just, like you were saying, I kind of didn't, I was confused, and because I was confused, I lost interest because it was something that I wanted to do. But the fact that I was like, every weekend I had to go there and had to show them that I learned something when I wasn't really like concerned about showing what I was learning. I was more worried about like learning on my own, like a personal kind of growth. Like I didn't really want to like have a teacher or anything like that. So I remember I just stopped playing for like 2 years because, like I said, I was 9. I just wanted to go outside and like hang with my buddies and play video games or whatever. But I remember in 6th grade, like the summer going into, I have like a crazy memory, so I apologize, I might go into like too much detail, but like cool. I remember like the summer going into 6th grade, we used to go camping a lot, my parents and I had like a fucking Sony Walkman. But I remember like I would just listen to Van Halen on these like 3-4 hour road trips, and it just blew my mind. David Lee Roth era, by the way. Yeah. Fuck Van Hagar. Hopefully it's okay that I cuss, but
yeah, that's cool.
But like I said, those sounds are just so alien to me. And then I remember my dad's favorite band was always Iron Maiden. That like the music was always going on in my house. So I just remember, like, it just came so natural for me to listen to Iron Maiden. And I remember just like getting obsessed with Iron Maiden when I was like 11 years old. Like literally, like that was like my first love. Like Iron Maiden was like the band that really turned me on. And I remember just like, so the number of the beast, it's like the classic album, but there's a song called The Prisoner on there. And I remember it just like, I loved it. And I remember just picking up like that, like Squire. I don't know how to explain it. I like saw the notes in my head before I even knew like where they were on the guitar. So I just felt it. And like, I remember like going and like picking up that Squire, whatever. And it was super out of tune, whatever. But like, I somehow managed to like tune the guitar to some drop tuning before I even knew how, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like before I even knew what tunings were. And I remember like kind of playing like the like, I just remember playing like basically the intro like riffs or whatever. And I just remember like it just clicked. Something in my mind clicked. And then all of a sudden, like all these songs I knew that I listened to were just coming to me. Like I could see them, and I would just like put on the song and I would try to learn it by ear. Yeah. And that's like still to this day. I mean, I'm self-taught and I learned pretty much by ear, but like I can hear a song. I mean, I'm like super familiar with like a lot of keys, so like I can hear something in A and I'll know it's an A. Just like I can feel it. It resonates in my chest a certain way. I know that sounds crazy.
Did you ever consider if you have perfect pitch?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's more just
because a lot of what you're saying sounds like a story that's coming from someone that would have perfect pitch. Like it's in line with people that have perfect pitch. And I wasn't sure if you were aware of what that was exactly, or if you ever tried to figure out if that's something that you had or not. Because
I mean, perfect pitch. I'm super familiar with it. I think for me, I mean, maybe this goes along with perfect pitch too, but I mean, I've been playing guitar for like 12 years now, so I think it's just kind of like you know how you get familiar with like a sound, so
Yeah.
like you can, it's kind of like modal stuff, or like
Kind of like when you see a color, it's blue. You know
you
that's
know
blue.
it's blue right away. Like I'll know, okay, that's in B,
Mhm.
or like that's like B Dorian or something like that,
Now,
just because I'm familiar with that.
With that, do you think that I can understand telling the difference between Dorian
Yeah.
or like Mixolydian or minor,
Yeah.
you know, because they do have similarities, but
Oh,
they have their unique qualities to them.
Sometimes it's like a subtle quality,
Yeah.
like, or difference.
Like minor and Dorian, only one note difference.
Yeah.
But the way Dorian's usually played for it to feel like Dorian, it definitely feels different than minor.
Oh yeah.
So that I can understand because that is just a feel. But to know a specific note, would you say that you are often like close to that note and inconsistently with if you think it's B? Or would you say that like you whenever you think it's B, like it ends up being B and you're right? What's the consistency like on that? Because I know for me, I wouldn't be consistent because I don't have the perfect pitch and I can only get close, and sometimes it's really that I just get lucky I make the right guess, but I'm in the right ballpark, and sometimes I guess the right note.
I would say like for the most part, I'd say I'm like pretty consistent. I mean, there's some times where I'll be like a little bit flat, like I'll be like a half step flat, but like I know like the general ballpark for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I'd say for the most part, I mean, like if I'm jamming with someone, you know, and like they have no like concept of like what key they're playing, they're just having fun, which is like awesome.
Yeah.
I'll pick up right away. I'll be like, okay, like yeah, that dude, he's playing in D.
Yeah.
And I can just tell. Like, and sometimes like I can tell. Most of the time I can tell by hearing. But I mean, of course, like a dead giveaway is just like where their hands are positioned. But sometimes they're playing something like that's in D, but their hands aren't even anywhere close to like where that note is on the fretboard, and I just know. Like I don't know. I can just feel it. Like,
and sometimes too, there are in certain styles, because of the way that they approach the guitar for that style, a lot of times they end up using certain keys.
Totally.
A lot of metal bands will, earlier metal, now there's a lot of drop tuning, so it's a little different.
D or C sharp or whatever.
Drop beef.
Drop Z.
You know? Yeah, drop Z. Drop Y even do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dropping.
That's my drop Y tuning.
Drop tunings are cool if like, I like drop tunings that like you can make I wouldn't even be a drop tune. I guess like an open tuning.
Yeah, it just opens up different doors.
I love that. Yeah, and like there's no.
It's not a good or bad.
I remember for a while I was like under the impression like, I was like, fuck drop tuning. Like that's cheating. Like that's like why would you not want to play a power chord like how it should be played?
Right. You're just it's just taking the easy way out.
Yeah, that's how I used to think of it. And really, it's like you can't think of like any musical instrument like that because everyone has their own style. Everyone's comfortable with whatever. But like, I guess my like animosity towards drop fucking whatever is like I kind of a lot of the like kids I knew growing up in high school that would play like death metal or whatever would play in these drop tunings, and they would limit themselves because I would be like, okay, like you're in drop D, I'm gonna tune to D standard, and I'm gonna learn what you're doing, but in my own way. I'm gonna transpose it my own way. So I'd come up with a riff and then I'd show it to them and they'd be like, I don't know how to do that. I'm in drop D. And I would be like, okay, well, just think of it 2 frets down essentially. You know what I mean? But like you're still playing D. It's just 2 frets down on A now. What like this riff is. I wish I had a guitar so I could like show you an example, but like I remember like that was like super frustrating because I felt like I was getting limited because people didn't understand, like, you know, there's not, you're just dropping 1 string down. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. It was just frustrating because, yeah, like I said, I felt like I was limiting myself because I had to explain, like, okay, this is how you do this. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in D standard, whatever. It's the same, quote unquote. But I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but that was more of my like animosity towards the drop tuning. Sorry, what were we talking about before that?
We're just kind of start talking about like the early beginnings.
Okay,
right?
the early beginnings. Yeah,
but I want to comment though, because
that 15-year-old rage came out right there. I'm sorry.
So you fascinate me as a guitar player, and that's coming from myself, that I got a lot of experience with the instrument. I've got a lot of a lot of years playing it.
Fascinate.
I know, and I've
never been told that. That's I'm blushing.
That's the word that I can best use at the moment. And because the way that you approach the guitar, I can just tell it's very different, and you have a connection with the instrument. You can just tell that is so natural and pure.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of people on guitar. I've had a lot of friends that play. I've played with a lot of different people myself. I've worked with a lot of people that are learning, doing the lessons and stuff like that. And I don't know. Maybe there was a time with someone that I knew.
Yeah.
But back in, the teenage years or something. But I don't know anybody else that has a connection personally. There might be other well-known guitar players and stuff, but
tons.
I don't know anybody else personally that has that connection with the instrument like you do. So that's what fascinates me, because you definitely have something truly unique.
Well,
it's like a meant to be thing.
I like that you said that it's just natural and pure, because like that's exactly how I would explain it.
But you like almost didn't even have to try for it. Other people have to. They have the things that we've talked about plenty of times before.
Yeah.
That are just second nature to you to do. Intuitive.
Yeah.
Definitely not things that for most people are intuitive.
So I definitely think that like in a weird way you can kind of learn intuition on the instrument, in the sense that like that note won't work, so you won't use it. You know what I mean? Kinda, I guess. I don't know, but like
I don't know if you could say that for most people.
I mean, so I guess like the whole reason it's so natural and pure to me is because like I was saying, when I was 9, I just wanted to learn on my own. Like I had all these like incredible guitar players I was like super like infatuated with, because I was like, how do you do that? And I remember just like wanting to jump head in. I didn't care about lessons. I was like, I'm gonna try and get myself to that level right now. I'm just gonna do it. Right. I'm just gonna do it. And like I remember, like, oh man, I'm trying to think of so there's this Judas Priest song. It's on Painkiller. It's called Metal Meltdown. And like I remember, like the opening guitar, like it's like the song starts off with like this crazy like classic guitar solo. And I remember hearing it, and I was like, I'm going to learn how to do that. And I remember trying to learn by ear and getting so frustrated. And like, because I was like, why can't I do this already? Why can't I do this already? Like, I can see it, but I can't, like, I can't figure it out. I still can't play it, for Christ's sakes. But I remember I can play part of it, but like, it's just kind of like, I went in head first, and like through that frustration of like not being able to get where I wanted to be, I got where I wanted to be, because I figured out, okay, I need to slow this down. I need to like figure out why these notes work. I need to figure out why these notes don't work. And like,
you just naturally went that direction with it though.
Yeah, totally. And like,
I think what a lot of people would have done, throwing their hands up and say, oh well.
See, that's such a bummer to me that people would think like that. I mean, I get it, because it's like, there's like in like the first like 2 years of me playing guitar, I got a little bit like, I don't want to say discouraged, but like I definitely was a little bit like, it's kind of intimidating and overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like learning guitar.
Well, it sounds like you created high expectations for yourself too.
Oh, I totally
Which I would
did.
say is still a trait that you have to this day too.
I'm always trying to like push my own limits, and like honestly, I just want to impress myself. Especially when I'm playing live, like I really, because like we have like these songs are just so, like we've been playing them for like 2 years now. It's like I know the chord progressions like the back of my hand, but like now I'm just like getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I know what notes will fit, but how about I phrase it like a saxophone player when I'm playing live? You know what I mean? Like there's that song Visions, like the one that Cam sings and then I sing.
Yeah.
The end has like these two like guitar solos after each verse, and that's super jazzy because it's like dun, 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 dun. Like that's the rhythm, and I just kind of think like a saxophone player because like they'll kind of do those weird like like I'll think stuff like that when
A lot
I'm
of
like
big jumps.
yeah, a lot of
interval
big jumps and like fast rapid fire on the notes.
I've been noticing you do that more of that.
I love that stuff, man. Like I mean I've been listening to like John Coltrane of course does it, but like Alice Coltrane, what is the album called? It's like I can't pronounce it. It's like Journey and Satchidinonita or something like that, but there's some crazy like horn playing on that.
And would you say that you even just in the riffs that you come up with, would you say you incorporate that concept? Because the way you were singing that, I could hear that. I never thought about that, but the riff that you were singing, that's in that section of the song. When you said like saxophone, I don't know if you were specifically referring to the riff as sounding like saxophone. If you're talking about just the lead part that you're going over.
I was talking about like just improvising the lead part.
But when you said that, I wasn't sure, so I thought for a moment how that would sound on a sax.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, that makes sense on a sax too.
Totally, yeah. And see, that's the thing too. Like, I'm super, super influenced by like, I mean, I love like rock and roll and like metal and like heavy rock and like space. I'm basically rock and roll I love, but like I'm a huge fan of like fusion and like I mean like jazz and stuff like that. I mean like world music. I know that's a pretty broad term, but like a lot of like Latin, like Cuban rhythms in particular. I listen to like stuff like that more. I mean like the melodies too, but like the phrasing on that stuff is like out of this world, and it's so inspired. Like sometimes the phrasing like bring me to tears because it's something I would have never thought of, but in that moment I'm hearing it. You know what I mean? Like so that's kind of like sometimes I approach riffs like that, like because you were saying like is that how I wrote that kind of?
Well, the reason that stuck out to me is because recently I had another kind of experience where I was listening to. I hadn't really listened to any Audio Slave albums.
Yeah.
And I like Rage and I like Chris Cornell.
Rage Against the Machine's super bad. I'm not the biggest Audio Slave fan.
Me
but
neither.
They got there's some killer riffs for sure.
Yeah.
Like that song Cochise is pretty cool.
And I'd only ever heard basically the ones that were on the radio. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go
like
through
a Stone or whatever
whole albums.
Called.
Yeah. I'm going to go through entire albums of theirs and just see what else is on there that I was missing, you know?
Yeah, that the radio didn't play.
Right. And then there was, I forget which album it was on, but they had a cover of Funkadelic that they did.
It covered Funkadelic?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
And this is Audio Slave.
Yeah.
Damn.
So then, I'm familiar with Funkadelic.
Oh, dude, I love Funkadelic.
So I started thinking about how that would have sounded if Funkadelic was doing it.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to kind of think of like, oh, which Funkadelic song would that be or whatever, you know? And then just all of a sudden it occurred to me that a lot of those Rage riffs would translate very easily into some Funkadelic style funk.
Yeah, dude. Like, dude, funk.
But of course, they're really heavy with it when they're doing it and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you were to translate that into some funk music, it almost is like exact. You know, it's almost perfect for that.
That's the thing too. Like music, and this is like kind of what I was. I guess I wasn't really getting at this, but like I feel like. Oh, I kind of was getting towards it. So when I was saying like I love fusion and stuff, I love funk, and I fucking love like 70s soul music like Al Green and like Isaac Hayes. Like I think Al Green's probably my favorite. I'd say he's like my favorite vocalist, but like so I feel like as a musician, it's almost like you're if you don't want to listen to like something, I get it, but like I feel like it should be your duty as a musician to explore as many genres as possible, because that's how you find out about yourself and your playing. You know what I mean? So like the first time I heard Funkadelic, it blew me away because Eddie Hazel is like, I mean like everyone, I love Hendrix. I love Hendrix. Like, but Eddie Hazel was really like, I'd say Eddie Hazel and Hendrix were like the two pioneers of like funk rock, because the direction that Hendrix was going, especially with like Band of Gypsies, and if you listen to the stuff that he was recording like in like Electric Lady Studios in like '69, were super funky, like really funky, and like with a lot of that percussive elements and stuff like that. But Eddie Hazel really was like the one to like fuse funk and rock together, I think. You know what I mean? And so like with Rage Against the Machine, you have a fusion of like hip hop and like essentially, I mean, at that time, like what you would call like 90s metal. That sounds so stupid. I mean, it's like Rage Against the Machine is totally like hip hop and rock. Like that song Know Your Enemy, that like main like verse riff is super rocking. Like that riff sounds like it's like straight out of like 77, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just has like Zach fucking going crazy on it. But like, yeah, like totally. I know what you're saying. Like it's cool to hear the influence. You know what I mean?
And you know, the thing is too with that is like, that's not a new thing to me, but I think what happens is as you're ever exploring music and exploring how different styles, how you can incorporate different styles and different influences from those particular players on those styles or whatever, right, into your own playing, you going down this path.
Yeah.
And you're in this one area and you spend some time there soaking up those influences. And then but you keep moving on, right? I mean, some people kind of try to purposely stay in a certain spot, but you know, for myself, I know, and a lot of other people, and I think you're really the same way, you keep moving on.
Yeah. I mean,
but then eventually you kind of get far away from something you were doing a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then it comes up again somehow.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're experiencing it for the first time again.
You approach it differently.
You're thinking about it differently.
That. Yeah, you totally think about that differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of like, so some of the Cloudcatcher riffs are riffs I wrote when I was like 15, 16, you know, 17. And like, they were more like straightforward rhythms.
And now you are.
And now I'm like, okay, like, you know,
I'm 23 now, right?
Yeah, I'm 23.
Just so there's a reference there.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So like those riffs are like what, like 8 years old, 7, 8 years old. But like I'll approach them with like, yeah, like my new influences, you know what I mean? Like the more, okay, like that riff is sweet. I love that riff. It resonates with me. What if I like add like a swing onto it, like make it like a swing feel? Or what if I make, I mean, like, I don't think about this, but like, cause I'm not really like a huge theory dude, but like, I'll be like, okay, like that riff's in 4, but this would sound super sweet if it was in like, if I played it like in 3, you know what I mean? Like, and it works, stuff like that works. But like, yeah, I love like, it's always so funny how you can't escape your roots, man. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. Like I grew up, especially when I was a teenager, I was really into like thrash and like death metal, like Sadist, like Exodus, Possessed, Death, Obituary, stuff like that. I loved. And there was a time like when I was just like, I don't want to listen to that anymore. Because I was like, you know, when you're younger, you're kind of like very like, oh, I know shit. I mean, I'm 23, I still don't know shit, but like when you're like 17, 18, like, I don't want to listen to that shit. That's what I was listening to when I was 15, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm so beyond that.
I listen to Alice Coltrane now. I'm grown up. But then like you hear that music and you're like, oh man, I can't believe I stopped listening to like, you know, Schizophrenia by Sepultura or something. That's a great album. But like you just approach, yeah, like I just love coming back to your roots because like you hear it in a new light, or you'll hear things that you never like would have heard when you're 15. Like, oh wow, what's Igor doing on that ride cymbal? Like, what's he playing? Like, what kind of rhythm is that? You know what I mean? And at the time, all you hear is but he's like doing crazy accents and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I love that. I mean, like growing as a musician is like super. When you know that you've grown, it's like really rewarding because you know you're pushing yourself. You know, you just know you're growing, and that's like a beautiful thing. I mean, I think that's like that for all artists, you know, whether you're a musician or you paint or, you know, you do woodwork, whatever. If you get better and better day by day and like you're constantly pushing yourself, that's the true reward. Like it's not really about the destination. I don't really have a destination as a guitarist. It's kind of just the journey, man. It's just fun. I love playing. Like I'll be jamming with like Cam and Jared and I'll hit really ugly notes and I'm like, okay, well, how do I make that work? And I'll just bend it. And it like adds like a really like tension, like filled, like, whoa, but it works. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I'm ranting and I'm just into this conversation.
So
I'm just
it's
like, blah, blah, blah.
definitely cool to hear about influences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to still those early days. So
Totally. Okay. I was going to ask about that.
You were 9. You did it for what, maybe a month or 2?
Dude, a month, 2 months tops.
You put it down, you said, for a couple years?
Yeah, I stopped playing for 2 years. And like I said, during those 2 years, I just listened to music and I kind of let it like marinate like on the back burner.
And you were listening to music that you were really into,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
man. I
man.
mean, I know that your dad listened to the same stuff that you liked, but it wasn't just like your parents played stuff and you just listened to whatever parents did. Like, you actually really liked it for yourself,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. And like, my parents played it, but like, it's not because I was surrounded by it that I was like forced to like it. I genuinely was like, this kicks ass. Like, it made me feel feelings I've never felt before. You know what I mean? Like, especially like even like Metallica, like Kill 'Em All and shit like that. I remember like, I remember being like 8 years old and just like not knowing to do with all this like aggression I felt, and I just like would slam my head against my bed like while Metallica was playing. I don't know. Fucking shit you do as you're a kid. But yeah,
wish that was on tape.
Oh man, me too. But yeah, it came from like a general interest. So yeah, I stopped playing music, or I don't want to say I stopped, but like I did. But I just listened to music for 2 years, and like I kind of was like thinking, you know.
So then, like 11, you picked back up.
Yeah.
So what ignited that passion again? I mean, for guitar specifically. Obviously, you're still listening to music.
Yeah, like I said, Iron Maiden, man. That song, that Prisoner. I remember I just like. I opened my closet door and I was like, oh yeah, I have a guitar. I forgot about that. You know what I mean? And so
you didn't really think about it too much in those 2 years then until that point?
Nah, man. Like it was kind of like, I guess the word's like serendipitous. I don't know.
Because I know people do that. They'll start at a very young age like that, like 8 or 9, like you're saying, and then they put it down for a few years. So I'm just curious, what was your experience while you actually put it down? So you didn't think much about the guitar?
No.
And it just kind of came back naturally then?
Yeah.
Nobody was like, you should pick up the guitar again or anything?
No one was like that. And like I said, I just opened my closet door one day and I was like, oh, dude, I totally forgot I had this. You know what I mean?
You are stupidly organic, man.
I don't get it. Yeah, no, it's homegrown, man. But yeah, I picked it up and it seriously just seemed like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. I know that
lights
sounds
shone
cheesy.
down from the heavens.
Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it.
There's a choir of angels singing in the background as you pick the guitar up again.
Manowar was singing. But yeah, it was just like just supernatural. And I remember kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like growing and learning shit. Like, so there's a video like for Metallica, and there's like, so I was playing everything in a drop tuning. And I didn't know it was a drop tuning. I was just like, okay, this is how you make this sound. And I remember like learning how to tune
drop D sort of thing?
Something like that. Yeah. So I was only playing on like E and A or whatever it would be at that time. But I remember I learned how to tune my guitar. I don't know how. I just learned. Oh no, my parents got me like some like guitar DVD thing that I still have. I watched it because I was like, I need to learn how to tune a guitar. But they were like teaching you like scales and stuff, and I didn't give a shit about that. I was like, I'll learn that on my own whenever I'm ready. But like they taught you how to tune a guitar, so I was tuned to E, and I was playing these chords like I would be playing them in drop D, and I was like, it doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I guess it's the 5th still, but you're not playing it like a power chord.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? What the fuck is going on?
I see.
So anyway, I just was trying to figure it out, and then I was watching One by Metallica, the video. And there's like a close up of James Hetfield's hand when he's playing like dun 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 dun. And I remember like I was like, I know how to play that right now. So I tried to play it and I strummed like A and E at the same, or A and D at the same time, but in that position. So I guess that's in like that song's in B. So it's in B. I was just playing like a B power chord and I hit both at the same time. I was like, whoa. Like I totally just played a power chord. Like I figured out what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what if I do that like this? And I would play it like on C sharp and it was like it was like the same thing. So it just kind of like figuring stuff out like that. Wow. And that's when I realized like, okay, now I'm going to try and learn the Prisoner the way that it should be played. And that's
did you know that was a power chord?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where did you hear that term from?
Probably like School of Rock or some shit like that. Like the Jack Black
movie. Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean,
like this must be the power chord.
Yeah,
because damn, is there power in that chord?
I felt great playing it.
Yeah.
Like it resonated within me. So, yeah, that's just kind of like, that's like another way I learned too. Like thanks to Metallica, I know how to play a power chord. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That video one, I learned how to play a power chord when I was like, I was probably 12 at that time, but yeah, 11 or 12 or some shit like that. But yeah, totally blew my mind.
Did you play any other instruments ever? Any
Um,
band instruments or anything?
No, I wanted to play cello really bad in
Really?
5th grade. I thought the cello was cool.
That was
Oh
my
yeah,
first instrument, actually.
I guess that's yeah. No, it almost was mine. So I went to Lumberg Elementary School, and they had like some orchestra. Like I remember they had like a demonstration, and they had like a bunch of the kids playing that were in orchestra already or band or whatever. And they had like an assembly, and I went. I remember the music teacher was like demonstrating each instrument, and he played the cello, and I was really like it blew. I was like, whoa.
It's very versatile. It can be dark
man.
and brooding.
Oh yeah.
But it can also be much more delicate and
gentle.
beautiful.
Yeah, gentle,
Gentle.
beautiful, totally. And like, I guess that's another thing that kind of like, so that was in between the time I wasn't playing guitar when I realized like, whoa, I kind of want to play cello. And I almost did orchestra, but like my parents just couldn't afford it at the time because it was some crazy like,
Yeah, those instruments are expensive.
yeah, the school programs are a little
rent.
bit expensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
renting it, like you might as well have bought it. But even if you bought it, like my parents were like, okay, your uncle bought you a guitar and you don't play it. I'm not gonna buy you a cello. You know? And I totally understand. I totally get it. But yeah, that was another thing that kind of was like a little bit like life changing in a way. I was like, whoa, like you can do that just with strings and wood. You know what I mean? Like he was playing some really dark stuff, and then it like got really nice and airy, and I was like, whoa, it just blew my mind. But yeah, so I mean, I can play drums and bass now, but like guitar has always been my main B.
Yeah, I mean, you just naturally, I think you tend to want to try other instruments out, and if you have a natural talent for music, it's once you kind of get one down, it kind of makes sense on other instruments, kind of what to do. So
I mean, I'm super comfortable with the rhythms and stuff too, so I love playing. That's why I love playing bass with a good drummer, and I love playing like drums with a good bassist. I'm not the best drummer, but like I really enjoy playing drums. You know what I mean?
Totally.
If you have the right person to link up with, like that's like that in the pocket rhythm section stuff I love.
I'm so happy that I have the kit and the practice space
Totally.
because that was my first instrument I really wanted to play.
Yeah.
And then
The drums?
that was before I heard, for me, like I've told you before, CCR, Up Around the Bend.
Yeah.
That initial riff.
Yeah.
That starts the song off. That's what was my jaw-dropping experience for guitar. I didn't know what it was. I knew what a guitar was, but I didn't know that's what was making the sound.
Yeah.
And I just asked my dad, and he's like, yeah, it's an electric guitar. And immediately I'm like, that's what I got to do.
I needed to play, yeah.
But up until that point, drums was always the thing I wanted to do. So it's really cool to be able to do that finally. But I gotta say, I'm glad that I did guitar first.
Yeah, drums are definitely like, I mean, drums are hard, but I don't really think they're hard because they're so complex, and because they're so complex, they're so simple. Like if you think about it, you're just banging on things at certain rhythms, dude. Like you know, it's rhythm, and that's the thing. Like I love rhythm. And that's kind of like what I was talking about. Like, so with that, like, whole that's like a cool, I love rhythms like that. Like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Like, and 3, you can do so much stuff. You can do a bunch of stuff in 4, but like, I like the really, like, it feels like you're swinging, like, oh God, like this train's gonna come off the tracks any moment. But like, the riffs and the solos are gonna keep it like on the tracks. Like, I love that feeling of just being like, this is wild. You know what I mean?
Anytime that you sing that riff now, and anytime that I see you guys play that, I can't help but hear a saxophone playing it.
Oh, dude, that's the way.
Dude, that works. If you had that, or if somebody tried it, it would work so perfect.
That song is like really like. I mean, I think Visions is super jazzy. Like Cam wrote the main. So the verse that he sings, like he wrote that whole like thing. And then there's like this whole break when we go into feedback, and then Jared starts with the drums, and then it goes into that rhythm, the and that's a rhythm I've been messing with forever. Like I would just like loop that on GarageBand, or like when I was like 17, I would hear that rhythm in my head and I would just play over that rhythm in my head. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like with guitar, I would hear it in my head and just play or tap my foot to that rhythm.
I want to come back to that. You mentioned the GarageBand thing.
Yeah.
But I want to hear more. So you're 11, you decide to start picking it up again.
Yeah, we'll stay on this topic. Sorry, I keep getting off track. I apologize.
I imagine, what age level would you say was the next kind of big turn for you with the guitar, or you know what I mean, development period? What would you say, what age would past that 11 would be the next sort of development period? Because I want to talk between 11 and whatever you think that age was.
Oh man.
15, 16, maybe the 17 age you were talking about.
Dude, I would say 11 to 14 is when I was getting like really comfortable with like the first, what do they say, like the first 3 years or something like that. I mean, of course. Yeah, I would say more or less when I was like, I mean, I was always like trying to record stuff. Like I had like, do you remember, they had like that, like in the early 2000s, I had like the early, like the karaoke video games and had the USB mic. I figured out I could download Audacity. I had a bunch of friends who were like way older than me. When I was like 13, I had friends that were like 18 or 19. And I was like super into thrash, and like they were super into thrash, and they thought it was cool that a little 13-year-old kid was into it. So they're like, hey, like, you should download Audacity. It's free, and you can plug like a USB mic and record and loop stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So I would just come up with melodies and record it and like solo over that. So basically, like in between
melodies on the guitar, or that you sang?
Sorry, melodies on guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I started singing when I was like, I don't know. I was in choir in high school, but I always sang music. I never really wanted to be a singer.
Yeah.
But like, anyway, so 11 to 15 I was just like learning how to quote unquote record, how to play with like weird rhythms.
And what age did you say that you kind of first really started tapping into the recording stuff? Was that 11 or a little after?
13, 14. 13 for sure, 13. But yeah, so I was doing that, and then I would say around like 15, I was playing guitar for 4 years, and I was like recording some stuff. I would like come home after school. I wouldn't do homework. I would like get like,
cheers to that.
Yeah. I would get like D's in class because I would be so obsessed with playing guitar and
for
writing.
all those kids out there, that's how you truly get good at the guitar.
Yeah, you practice for like 6 or 7 hours and you think about it when you sleep. But yeah, so I would just basically like come home, play guitar, X amount of hours, go to bed, and then like wake up, go to school, and I had like my iPod or whatever, and I listened to like music in class, and I'd see the notes in my head. But yeah, so 15, I really started like really getting into writing music and like chord progressions and stuff like that. Are we doing okay on time?
Yeah.
I know I'm a blabbermouth, but yeah, so
you're all good.
I'd say 15 is when I really like started to like actually impress myself, because I'd be like, whoa, like I just wrote a song and recorded it. And I mean, granted, it was only guitar, but I was like overdubbing, and like, I was, by that time, like I always loved Iron Maiden, but like when I was like 13, I was introduced to Thin Lizzy, and like that band is like I don't know a band that does better guitar harmonies than Thin Lizzy. I mean, Iron Maiden, but like who they learn it from, like Thin Lizzy and Wishbone Ash. But like Thin Lizzy really opened my mind to melody and like what you could do harmonically, and like, just like crazy shit like that. So I remember I would just do like very simple like pedal tone riffs, and I would just be like, okay, I'm gonna write a harmony over that. And I was just self-exploring, and that's how I figured out, okay, like these notes harmonize essentially, you know what I mean? Like that's what makes that sound that Iron Maiden did. That's what made that sound that Thin Lizzy made, you know what I mean? Like, and that blew my mind. And like when I figured out how to do that, it kind of opened up another door. So I would say that was a huge step for me, because you were asking like what was like the next like big step. I would say when I figured out how to like write and record songs, because that's when I was seriously like, whoa, like this is what I want to do. I mean, I always knew, but that's when I really knew.
So up to that point, obviously you were practicing constantly. Did you have any sort of like structure to your practice? How would you approach that?
Man, you know, I especially when I was younger, I always seemed to have a guitar, man. I played a lot of video games and I played a lot of guitar. So like when I wasn't, I mean, there would be like times where I would fucking play video games and then just pause for like a few hours and play guitar for a few hours, and then I play video games for a few hours. I wouldn't say there was really a structure, but I always seemed to have like the guitar in my hand. Even if I was on like YouTube watching videos or whatever, I would always be noodling on guitar. Always. It was just always in my lap. You know
Well,
what I
let's
mean?
say those 2 hours that, you know, or whatever amount of time you took a break from the video games.
Yeah.
What would you spend that time doing? Did you have to like ever break it down into certain techniques and just work on certain techniques?
I never practiced techniques. I always wanted to learn songs by bands I loved. When I was 15, I was like obsessed with Judas Priest too. So like I would try to learn like Shit Off Screaming for Vengeance. Like there's a song called like Take These Chains, or like I knew what a guitar harmony was. So I would try to revisit all these Iron Maiden songs, like, and try to figure out the harmonies and stuff like that. So I guess like in learning those melodies, I kind of like figured out picking and alternate picking and phrasing and stuff like that. So
phrasing meaning things like hammer-ons, pull-offs, bangs.
yeah, like and stuff like that, or like where note placement.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I guess like man, I'm having a brain fart, sorry. Yeah, I would just like subconsciously kind of like I didn't know what to call it. I think we talked about this. Like I didn't know what I would call it, so I would just subconsciously like learn like a hammer-on, or like, you know what I mean, like a
So nobody
string.
actually specifically told you this is the hammer-on, this is how you do it.
No.
You just kind of, it was more like a side effect.
Yeah,
You wanted
totally,
to be able
totally.
to match that sound you heard so much.
A side effect.
That's just what you had to do to get
exactly.
it. Rather than thinking, I'm going to get this technique. I'm going to learn
Exactly.
this technique, and then I'm going to find something that uses the technique.
Yeah.
It was just,
pretty
it came
much.
after the fact, really.
Exactly. And it wasn't until like a year or two later where I'd be like, oh, that's a hammer-on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when people go, "Bow," like that classic, just like making your finger go up and down, that's a hammer-on and pull off.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that until like I was like 16. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
And vibrato was another thing you said you kind of tapped into at an earlier
Oh yeah, we
point.
talked about that before. Yeah, vibrato, man. That was like, I mean, I'm still working on vibrato, like even to this day, more in like a live setting, like when you're playing with a band, it's kind of hard to like execute it properly in a way that's like satisfactory to like what I think vibrato should sound like. But yeah, vibrato, I would sit like Leslie West and Michael Schenker have like the best, and dude, Ace Frehley too. Ace Frehley has fucking incredible vibrato. So I would listen to those three, and like I would watch interviews, and I found out what vibrato was because of Leslie West, because he was like, oh, I'm known for my vibrato. He's like this cocky, like he's Leslie West, dude. He's this big, like fat Jewish dude that rules, but has like incredible vibrato.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, he's in Mountain. Yeah. It's so like, yeah, man, he just, dude, his vibrato is like singing. So I found out what vibrato was from him, and I was like, that's what he's doing like on all these classic songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just would like practice it. I was like, okay, so here's this note right here. If I'm gonna play a note a half step up. So I'm gonna play this note, and then I'm gonna play the note a half step up, and the note I first played, I'm gonna bend until I hear it in my head the way that I just heard, like that I played, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I would keep doing that, and then I'd be like, okay, so now that I'm at this point to where I'm bending it with like to the note essentially, what if I kind of just like rotate, like move my finger a little bit, and it kind of gives it that vocal like sustain to it. So, and then I realized when you do that with a cranked amp, you can get that badass feedback, and that's like where it changed my life.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, yeah, like I know what Hendrix is doing now, especially with the whammy
Coming
bar.
to Christ moment.
Yeah, dude, totally, man. I saw like, yeah, that divine intervention happened, but yeah, so I kind of just like learned all these techniques, like you said, like they were a side effect.
Yeah.
That's like the best. I'm gonna start telling people that if they ask, is
It was an accident. I
was-
didn't mean to do it.
totally an accident, dude. Totally an accident. Yeah, so that's kind of how that worked.
I'm curious to know during that time frame, what was the thing that you feel like you struggled the most with?
I really wanted to learn sweep picking, and then I realized.
How did you even discover that?
Oh man, there was like a whole point in time when I was like 14, like 13, 14. I was obsessed with like
YouTube video or something?
No,
you see? Or a friend that could do it?
So there was this dude named Evan. He played at this like thrash band called. I think he's in this band now called. He's like a drummer now, which is crazy. But he's in this band called Pilot Priests. But he was this guitarist when I was like 13 that I was like looked up to like completely. And because he was just like, he shred, dude. Like he was just a shredder. And like it blew my mind because he was doing the sweep picking. And at that time when I was like 13, I had no fucking clue what that was. You know what I mean? Like I was listening to like Megadeth, like Marty Friedman did it every now and then. But it, like Evan was like the guitarist who like showed me what sweep picking was. And I tried to practice it. And at the time I was super into like, there was this label in the 80s called Shrapnel that like was like this classic shred label, like the classic like cliche shredding stuff, like Vinnie McAlpine or whatever the hell, and Paul Racer X. I still love that stuff. What's up?
Tony McAlpine?
Yeah, Vinnie McAlpine, Tony McAlpine. Yeah. Sorry, but yeah. So all that stuff, I like they were doing these crazy sweeps, and I, like at 13,
you heard Sean Lane?
Sean Lane's nuts,
dude, insane,
beautiful playing too. Some of it's almost like there's some stuff that he does that's like
the next Sean Lane, dude.
Nah, I don't want to. Okay, so
I know how you feel about that.
No, I love like the whole shreddy thing, but like so yeah. Basically, I found out about sweep picking, and then I tried. Basically, like Greg, who's in this awesome band called Donovan, has this quote that's like my favorite. But he's like, "Sweeping's for janitors."
I was just gonna make such a lame janitor joke.
I love it, dude. So I mean, like you know, I can do like a little 3-string sweep, but it's not like crazy. It's more just like, it's more like just for like phrasing, dude. Like. Like just a nice little. Well,
yeah. I mean, you abuse any technique, it's gonna get old, you know.
And that's the thing. Like all my favorite guitarists in the '80s, like we're just doing shred. Like they were shredding to shred, and there was really no feel in it. You know what I mean? Not to say like Dragon's Breath or whatever by Marty Friedman rules. Like that's like super exotic, but there's like some of the Racer X stuff, like Paul Gilbert, one of my favorite guitarists still to this day. But like. That, you know what I mean? That whole shredding stuff is awesome, but there's a point where it's like, dude, I need feel. You know what I mean? I need that like the technical prowess is cool, but like I really want to hear you bend that fucking note like Leslie West. You can't bend that note like Leslie West. You can play the note faster than him. That's fine, but you can't really attack that string to where like one note sounds like a fucking army. You know what I mean? Like that's like a hard thing to come by nowadays. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So yeah, that's.
I think a lot of people just don't even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like,
which is another funny thing that these things just occur to you,
dude. Like you said, it's an organic and natural process. So yeah, I mean, that's basically like the thing that I had the hardest time with, and then there was a point where I was just like, you know, like I don't care anymore. I don't want to do this, and that's when I was like, yeah. Leslie West can make one note sound so beautiful and so lush and huge. I'm going to focus on that. You know what I mean? And like I could always play fast. Like when I was like 13, like I said, going head on to things, I was like Dave Murray is like a perfect example. The guitarist, like one of the lead guitarists of Iron Maiden, his legato playing blew my mind. Like legato, because he would put it on the neck pickup and it would just be like super creamy and just like fluid. It sounded like liquid glass, like molten glass. I always loved that. So I always tried to copy that. And a lot of my style, like I just played fast. Before you leave, this won't be on this podcast. I want to show you some of the shit I was playing. I have like documented stuff of what I was playing when I was like 14, 15. I really want to show you. It's awesome. So bad. Like it's bad, but I want to show you just to see like you could see where I'm coming from when I'm explaining this now. But like
that'd be totally cool.
I was really into this legato, just hauling ass stuff. Like how fast if I pluck the string once, how many notes can I play with just plucking it once? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that was what I did instead of sweep picking. You know what I mean? And then I kind of realized like I need to slow this down and like figure out like note placement, you know what I mean? Like just trial and error, because I was playing notes that sounded really bad, so I'd just get in the muscle memory of avoiding that note.
Yeah, I kind of did a similar thing when I I learned the minor pentatonic scale, and then it was shown to me that you can also include the flatted fifth, which is the blues note,
Yes.
and how you end up going 1, 2, 3 with your fingers in a row, right? Or you could do it that way.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. Okay.
So, but then what I did is I realized, well, you could just hammer them on, right? And then I thought, well, if I go to the next string, fourth string, I got to use the first and third finger there. So I could just toss in that second finger as well there. It's a different tone that you're adding in. It's not the blues note. It's not the same, but you're still adding it in. So I would just start doing that. And every string there that used the first and third finger, I would just do double hammer-ons. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That was my first experience with legato, and I just got obsessed with it.
Dude, legato is, I think it's kind of like, I mean, it's like a lost art in a weird way. Like, you don't really hear a lot of like players that are known for like their legato anymore. Dude, I think legato is fucking awesome.
Well, I'm actually jealous now of guys who, because I used legato so much. That's my main thing.
Oh, dude, I mean, I still
love
do. It. Yeah, I'm still the same way. Like,
I love it.
Yeah.
That's still my favorite thing.
Yeah.
But I also realized that I did it so much that my picking got
kind of suffered.
Caught behind.
Totally
yeah.
get this, dude.
So now when I hear
That's how
guys
I was, yeah.
like I think John Petrucci does a lot of stuff that I would normally do legato. He'll do it with picking.
Yeah,
not necessarily the same licks or anything.
That's
so when I hear that,
yeah, totally.
And it was I loved that definition in every note, and I'm like, you know what, I got to start picking that up again.
Yeah,
because I didn't want to necessarily play like John Petrucci, but that sound that he was getting with the pick, I'm like, you know, I wish that I had done a little more picking, and I want to get that in my playing a little bit more. So.
That's picking's definitely. See, that's kind of where I learned phrasing from. The picking hand, because I would like I said, I was like, I need to slow this down. So I'd be like, okay, what if I accent this note, even though in a legato run with a pick? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of so speed. Yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about. Like, I just, there's a point when I realized, like, yeah, my picking hand is not doing shit when I'm soloing.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I mean, it sounds cool, but that's exactly what growth is. It's like, this isn't going to work forever. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I kind of exhausted exploring at the time.
Totally.
I exhausted exploring that technique. Yeah. Not like I explored all the avenues. I just exhausted myself. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I've had enough of that.
There's only so much you can get when you're, so far you can get when you're exhausted. Mm-hmm. Totally. I agree.
So you started using that recording stuff. Actually, did you ever get, I know you did from between 9 and 11, you put the guitar down. Did you ever have any moments after 11 when you picked it up and you started getting more serious and more tense with it, where you kind of got, you know, kind of bummed out, like you were just struggling so much that you kind of wanted to put it down, even if for a short time? Did you ever feel that again?
You know, I would say not. I would say there was like brief, like me putting down a guitar, like, you know, I would say like very intermittently, but it wouldn't be for more than a day.
Was it like a frustration thing?
It was just like, you know, this isn't working. I just need to like take a break and, you know what I mean? Like just not think about it. And then I'll come back to it tomorrow or whatever. Like the longest there was like this period like at the end of high school, and like you go through that like classic cliche like depression. I didn't play guitar for like a month or two, and it was like that was the longest. And what was funny is when I didn't. Well, that was more like it wasn't from like guitar, it was just like personal shit. When you're fucking 18, you know what I mean? Like stupid shit happens, but like the classic, like, oh god, this girl I thought I was gonna be with forever, even though I'm fucking 17, kind of shit, like that whack shit. So like basically, I stopped playing guitar for like 2 months, and like I realized like a lot of my like sadness was because I wasn't playing guitar. Yeah. And when I picked up the guitar again after 2 months, I was like, damn, like I feel like this is what was missing in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was too busy like being 17. I mean, it happens to everyone, dude. It's just what happens. It's too busy being 17, fucking being obsessed with a girl. You know what I mean? Just stupid shit like that. So when I picked up the guitar, I truly was like, yeah, man, this is like, I can't believe I stopped playing. I can't believe I stopped playing for like 2 months. But yeah, that was the longest I've ever. And it wasn't out of frustration. It was just like stupid hormone shit. You know how it goes, dude.
So you never really had anything that you were just like so frustrated? Because the reason I ask is because there's definitely people, and like, you know, when I'm doing these interviews, like part of what I want people who are listening to get out of it is to make the connection and see that, oh, these guys who are good had some struggles too. And everybody's different, so, you know, I don't necessarily expect anybody to, you know, make up a story or anything. But But did you feel like you ever had some? And it's okay if you didn't, of course. But did you ever feel like you had anything that was so tough that you're just like, man, I'm not getting this, and I want to put it down? Or was that just never a thing for you?
It was never a thing. Like I said, sweep picking. I still like fucking can't comprehend like the raking, whatever. Like to this day, I'm still like, what? So like, there was a point when I realized, excuse me, there was a point when I realized, like, yeah, it's not gonna work. I didn't get frustrated with it. I was just like, I
move on.
Be like, I can't do this, and there's other shit I could be learning. Exactly. I'm moving on. Like, I'm not gonna try and sweep pick anymore. That was it, really.
And I think a lot of people who do attempt the sweep picking have a similar.
It's just weird, feeling. Man. Like, and like I said, I like it. I think it's cool. Like, a lot of jazz guitar players will like sweep pick, but like not in the traditional, like the
not
traditional
constant sweep pick.
Yeah, it's more like accenting,
throwing it in here,
and that's like I'll do that, and it's when it's very subtle.
It's more like an embellishment rather than a focus.
Yes, exactly, exact. It's more of like a kind of dynamic thing too, and like I'll do that a lot live. So like, yeah, it's very rare that I'll do it. I know I just said that I do that a lot live, but like when I do it. It's just because I want to see if I can do it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and sweep picking I found myself really incorporating was always just like 3-string sweep picking patterns.
I mean, that's cool, dude. That
not
sounds
real
good.
Lengthy 6-string or 5-string picking patterns.
Nuts. It sounds cool, but yeah. So yeah, sweep picking.
It was just always too much for my tastes.
Me too.
On a creative level, like what do I need to express myself in the situation? I just never needed, what I would hear in my head was just going to be like a 3-string sweep, and that would probably be about it.
And like, I think sweep picking's cool and all, but then like around that time I realized like I was kind of into string skipping licks and stuff like that. And that's when I was like, yeah, dude,
Paul Gilbert influence right
totally, dude. Yeah. That's where I learned, like, so when I was like 16, 15 is when I started like venturing out and being like, okay, so like these are my favorite guitarists. What are they doing? Why do I like them so much? So that's like Paul Gilbert's a perfect example. So like about, man, it's 2009. I don't know. He was, he I think he had just released this album in 2008 called, oh, dude, it has like a rhino on it. Anyway, he was like getting more into like, dare I say, like fusion-y aspects. He was growing as a player as well. And so he was doing like these really cool like string skipping licks. And on the recordings, I'd hear him and be like, what the hell is going on? So then I went on YouTube and I searched like, you know, Paul Gilbert guitar lesson, and he'd be doing these like string skipping licks. And that really opened my mind.
And he specifically said, I watched some of those same videos. He specifically said, this is what a lot of people think I'm doing, sweep picking.
Yeah, it's just
but I'm actually just the string skipping.
Oh, I love it. It's genius, dude. So
it's got similar effect.
What's up? Totally, exactly.
That's the first time I got introduced to that too. I mean, I'm sure both of us probably did some string skipping stuff.
Yeah.
Not really thinking this is string skipping stuff.
But not in
the first time that I was like, this is string skipping was when I watched the Paul Gilbert video.
Yeah, me too. Like, we have a song called Astral Warlord, and like there's a part.
Should I put some delay on that when you say that? And like
Astral Warlord.
Emphasize the low influences there.
But
I'll drop the pitch on it too.
Drop a little bit too. Oh man, I really hope you do that. But yeah, so there's this riff. It's kind of like a bridge thing. You know the dun 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 dun. That riff has string skipping in it, and it's like it's really quick, but like because I got comfortable with it. You know what I mean? Like it just, you know what I'm saying? It's the I'm string skipping and sliding at the same time, which is like really weird. But it's just like that just comes from like.
And that's the thing where it goes up, boom, down, doom, doom, down.
Yeah, doom, down, doom, doom. Yeah, totally. Yeah, damn, you know that. Yeah, you know that riff better than me. So yeah, basically, that's just string skipping, and like that's just me elaborating. Like, oh, yeah, like, thanks, Paul Gilbert. I'm gonna like not watch his video again and basically fucking
Do my own way.
do my own thing.
Yeah.
So that's just always how I've been, man. That's always how I've been. Even like that one time, like I was at your school and like we were just jamming or whatever, and like you were you kind of said something. What did you call it? Like you would play the same. You'd have like a phrase, and you'd play the same notes, but you would just switch up the notes in the same phrase. Dude.
Well, I would do the thing where I would do like a triplet.
Yeah.
But I would actually phrase it in groups of 2.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Triplet, triplet,
Yeah.
triplet, triplet.
Yeah, and that blew
So
my
I would
mind.
switch it up. Yeah,
I thought that was so cool.
And I got that from Philip Glass. That's where I picked that up. He does that all the time.
Philip Glass. What did he do?
Well, Philip Glass
familiar.
did a bunch of different ensemble stuff
Yeah.
that was not necessarily for anything particular.
Okay.
And then he also did some movie scores like The Illusionist and The Truman Show.
Oh man, excuse me. I thought he was a guitar player. No, that's cool though.
No,
See,
just,
that's
just
the thing,
really
though.
a composer.
That's what we were talking about earlier. That other influence that's not rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the cool part. I love that shit. Yeah, sweet. Philip Glass. Okay.
Dude, he's done stuff with Ravi Shankar.
Oh, dude.
I have a CD where he does some stuff with Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
And I mean, his stuff is just.
Is he strictly a composer, or does he play? Because that always blew my mind.
He
How
plays piano.
okay, yeah. There's some composers that like won't. Like, there's some composers that don't even play an instrument.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
I don't know exactly how he uses his.
But he's mainly a pianist.
I think.
Pianist, whatever you want to call it.
That's all I've ever seen him play.
Okay.
But I don't know what else he plays, if anything
Shit, that's
else.
cool, dude.
I'll tell you what, though. If you want to hear what I think is my favorite movie score by Philip Glass, it's a tough call because The Illusionist is awesome.
Yeah.
But I love more. I guess I connect with it more. Maybe the score for The Hours.
I haven't even heard of that movie.
I've never even seen the movie either.
I
just found that looking up Philip Glass stuff. I'm just like, I want to hear more Philip Glass.
Yeah, dude,
here's a score he did. It was The Hours. Okay, I'll listen to that.
Yeah.
And it's very stripped down.
Yeah.
So it's just like a string quartet and piano.
That's cool.
It's awesome.
I love bare bones. Like that's why power trios rule. Like that stuff, because it's like, how much can you do with this amount of people?
Like Green Day.
Yeah, totally. Billy Joe Armstrong, right? God,
Strong
dude.
arm.
How
Billy
much?
Joe Strong
What can
arm.
I do with this mascara? Dude,
That's exactly
you
what you're
fucked
referring
me
to.
up with that.
Yeah.
You threw me off of that. Green Day, Jesus. Next question.
Okay. So what I really want to talk about, and I know that we are kind of getting on that time now. We went over an hour roughly, but
Are you serious?
well, it's like an hour and 6. But the thing is that
Damn.
we were kind of talking before a little bit when I first started recording.
I'm actually having fun with this.
So we'd shave off a few hours.
I knew I was gonna
or a
have
few
fun.
minutes. Yeah, I mean,
Damn,
this
I
is
just wanna
just
keep
dude. This
talking.
is just me and you talking.
Yeah, no,
There
I
happens
know.
to be mics in front of us, and there's a record button that got
If
pressed.
anyone listens to this, that Green Day comment really threw me off. Like that fucked me up. Okay, anyway.
I had to catch you in that. So, okay, you and I have talked about theory a lot,
Yeah.
and rather than going in, because I know that could be a long conversation,
Yeah, I still don't. Yeah.
but I would say if you could tell what was your experience with theory like in the early days, which honestly I don't think there was much from what you've said before.
No.
But you could tell everybody, and then how that's changed to today.
So basically my experience with theory and like my earliest like experience with theory is when I was in 7th grade. I had a music teacher who was awful. She like really sucked the fun out of
This was
music.
like a regular music class.
Yeah, in like public school in
Mhm.
7th grade. It was like a requirement. But we were learning guitar, and I was like playing guitar for pretty much over a year at that point. So I remember, I think we talked about this, but I remember, yeah, I was playing, we were learning
You
these.
talking about reading the notes?
Yeah. So it's like we would, like basically the way we would get like evaluated or like
Mhm.
we'd get the grade for that course. We had these like nylon string guitars. We had to learn to tune them. So I was like, dude, I know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm fucking 13. I'm 12, whatever I was. So basically, we had to learn these songs, and like by like reading these chord charts, and I just knew the chords by picking them up by ear.
Yeah.
So because it was like super simple stuff, you know, like you'd have like G major and like A major, then E minor, whatever. So I remember, I remember like learning these songs, and I was like, dude, this is a joke. Like, I can't believe like they're forcing me to learn this stuff. But then like we'd have these evaluations where we would have to go up and be like 1-on-1, and she'd give you this chart to read, and it wasn't the song that it was the chords that were involved in the song that we learned, but it wasn't like
An order or something.
the order was not
progression.
right. Yeah, way different progression. And I remember like seriously seeing that, and I was like, so like the first few tests, it was the songs we learned, which was fine, and then it was like as it got more advanced or whatever, she gave us these chord charts. I cannot say that, and I would be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And like and she even told me, she's like, I knew you were just memorizing it. And I told her, I was like, I wasn't memorizing it. I just learned by ear. Like, I don't learn this way.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, if you're not going to learn theory, like you're not going to learn music. And I remember that like made me so angry.
So that word theory was automatically attached to that.
Negative right away. And then like, oh man, I had all these like that Evan dude I was telling you about, like, knew all this theory, and like I didn't care about it because he would like try to explain it. I'm like, I don't care. That just is like going over my head. So like it wasn't pretty much until like, because I guess like modal stuff is like theory, right?
Totally.
So,
and that's the cool theory, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I hear people when they come in for lessons and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I hear so much. Sometimes people say, I want to learn theory. Sometimes they say, I
totally.
don't want to learn theory. But when they go on to tell me what they mean by theory, they're talking about reading notes. And to me, it's like, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of theory. That's not at all what I think of when it comes to theory. I think about scales, how scales are built, how chords are built.
Yeah, all that stuff.
And how you can do key changes.
Totally.
I mean, really,
based on like what
the
like
cool stuff.
The scales. Yeah, totally. And see, that's awesome. And in high school, I took a music theory class. It was the only one of 2 classes that I ever failed, like when I was going to public school. But like, yeah, man, I remember just being so like, I thought it was so cool, but at the same time, it was just like so much. Like it took the fun out of it for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like what I learned
This is kind of rigid.
Yeah, it was super rigid. And like it's just like triads were cool because a lot of my style, like once I kind of learned what a triad was, I couldn't explain it to you right now, but like I could play one. So like, once I learned what that was, I was like, dude, you can come up with so many licks based on a triad. Like that's so cool to me.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And that's like really unique sounding still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like,
it's another tool for the toolkit.
It's totally another tool. But yeah, that definitely, that was something that like, yeah, the theory in high school and middle school really bummed me out. Cause I was like, I almost felt like an idiot. Cause I was like, okay, I know I can play guitar. I know like I'm like decent, but I can't learn theory. So I feel like an idiot.
Well, I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
my
Theory,
guess,
quote
right? Yeah, what they were portraying as theory,
Yeah.
and what they were presenting as theory.
Yeah.
So, my guess is that the reason probably that it wasn't cool to you, the theory wasn't cool to you, is because it wasn't being shown to you in a way that was relevant to what you enjoy doing.
Yes, exactly.
But now,
Exactly.
you have come across
Yeah.
the theory in the ways that it could be cool. So what do you think about nowadays,
Well,
coming back to it? And how did you come back to it?
Well, so
when did you come back?
We had like, oh man, it was just so. I think that it's cool nowadays because like we've talked about it and you've kind of introduced it to me in a way that's definitely way more like as I'm older, I'm like, okay, I can't believe I dismissed it. You know what I mean? Because it's relevant to what I want to learn. But I mean, I still couldn't tell you a lot like a theory because a lot of it is basically just like you were saying,
But yet you do so much of it.
Yeah, totally.
Somehow you know
That's
how to do
a side
that.
effect, dude.
Yeah,
It's a side effect. And that's the thing, like the theory I know is because it's a side effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the stuff that like we've talked about, you kind of pointed out to me and I was like, oh, I never knew like I was doing shit like that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
But that's what I mean fascinate, you know?
Yeah. And see so I guess nowadays I'm totally cool with theory. But that being said,
You guys kissed and made up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm cool with theory, but I'm kind of
We hugged it out.
Unfortunately, I'm set in my ways to where I'm like, you know, if I'm doing something and I don't know what I'm doing, maybe I'll probably ask you or someone who knows theory. So I can be like, okay, what am I doing right here? What is this? And like, if you explain it to me, like, I don't know, I'm cool with it. I think it's awesome, but I'm at the point to where I'm still like, it's still like self-exploration.
Well,
you know
I
what I'm
think
saying?
another thing that you said earlier that is a good way to explain, I think, how a lot of people should have as a ideal when learning guitar is kind of balancing the relevance of something, right? Because you said that with the sweep picking, you were struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much that you got frustrated with it. It was just so much that you knew there were other things you could be doing.
Yeah, and I was kind of like rationalizing like what could I really use sweep picking for? You know what I mean, like if I want to show off,
like how necessary is this going to be?
Yeah, exactly. I don't play it like, oh man, this is gonna make me sound like an asshole. But like a lot of guitarists that like sweep pick, it's so surface level because like your average like 14-year-old on Facebook is gonna see that and be like, whoa,
yeah,
that's tight. Or like, I'm not trying to get girls. You know what I mean? Like it's and I know that sounds very like judgmental, but like unless you're utilizing sweep picking in like a very musical sense, and by that I mean like it's not used all exactly. It's not used all the time. I don't want to hear it, and that's like the big turnoff like nowadays about like a lot of modern stuff is like very like it's just like so stale and stiff. Like sweep picking is not very like I said, dude. Like you can sweep pick, but I would love to see you like bend a note.
Well, you know, that's the thing is I think a lot of stuff like that and a lot of things that have evolved, not necessarily with sweep picking, but just in general, things like two-hand tapping or, you know, things like Chapman sticks and stuff like that.
Chapman sticks are so cool.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But to me, when I see stuff like I think Andy McGee, you know Andy McGee?
Oh, yeah.
He is incredible with his skill. And Michelangelo Badio.
The two.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane to me.
Have you heard of Jackal?
Oh, yeah. I know the guys.
The chainsaw guitar?
Yeah.
Oh, my God,
I know the guys.
dude. I love that shit.
You met my buddy Joey, right? The older guy. He was at one of your shows, I think.
I probably...
Yeah, you did. The High Dive.
Oh, God, yeah, probably.
He's friends with them. He knows those guys. He's known them for a long time.
Okay.
And so I got
Joey, totally. Yeah. Okay. It's all coming back.
Yeah, because he...
Fucking Jackal.
He was in the motorcycle industry and stuff, and they play a lot of gigs in the motorcycle industry, so they would hang out.
Damn, Jackal.
So I got to hang out with those guys a little bit when they were in town. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious, you know?
Aren't they Canadian?
No.
Okay. I swear to God, I thought that. They're probably from L.A., but yeah, like, okay, so anyway.
They're straight up American, man.
God, straight up American. Anyway, continue what you were saying about like the whole like.
So I was just saying though, like to me, it's almost kind of like sideshow stuff.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know? It's entertainment. It's entertainment. But see, that's what I'm saying.
It's still incredible.
Oh, it's super technical, dude. Like,
and that's just me speaking as a personal opinion, you know.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe other people can look at that and they're touched deeply by it, and that's fine. Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool for you, man.
For me, it's kind of sideshow stuff. It's like I'm wowed. And then I want to see something that actually has meaning.
I think, I want the substance. Yeah. Like I said, like, it's very surface level. Like, the whole, like, Michelangelo Badio, like, oh my God, his tone is so shitty, too. Like, his guitar tone is god-awful. But, like, that's what I'm saying, dude. It's, like, it's very surface level. Like, there's no, like, real, I mean, and this is just me. Exactly, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sure he feels different, but like when I see the two guitar, like you know what I mean, double neck thing, that's so like cheesy, dude. It's so cheesy. Like if I was like 12 years old at a monster truck rally and I saw that, I'd be so stoked.
Right.
But it's like is he doing counterpoint? You know what I mean? Like if that's when it gets like if he approached that as like a piano player where you have like the bass on your, like so like you have the bass in your left hand and the treble, whatever works, that would be so cool. But like I'm sure he does that.
Yeah, he might. And you know what?
I'm being just a judgmental dick, but whatever.
And I can't comment any further on those guys as far as their you know.
They're way better guitar players than me, technically. Totally,
absolutely.
I'm not afraid to admit that. Like they will whoop. I don't believe in like competitiveness when it comes to music, but they'll whoop my ass when it comes to that stuff.
Since this is recorded and people are listening, I want to make it clear. All that I'm saying is when I listen to it, it's not something that I really feel compelled to listen to again.
Me too.
That's all I'm saying.
let's leave it at that.
Boom.
I'm in the same way. Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, I definitely respect their ability and
Totally.
impressed by it. And it's cool to see every once in a while. I do get a little depressed after seeing it for a moment. And then I go on and I listen to something else that I'm more into.
That's how I feel about Tool, man. Like, I have so many friends that love Tool, and I respect the musicality. I respect the musicianship, but the music doesn't do anything.
It just doesn't touch me
And
in
I have
places
friends that love Tool.
that I like to be touched.
Yeah, exactly. I like to be touched my heart specifically. If this was another podcast, I would go off pretty dirty. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe one day this podcast will go there.
I hope.
Well, you know, a lot of the stuff that's what I like about doing these conversations, because really the stuff that I put down in my notes
I wish we could.
are things we're going to talk about anyway.
Yeah, damn, dude. I just want to
So
keep going.
usually what ends up happening is I'm looking at my notes,
Keep this rolling, dude.
thinking, yeah, Rory already said that. Yep, Rory already said that.
I blab a lot, so
well, you
that's
know what?
probably why.
Remember how I started doing this, really? And I told you over that phone, I think the one time we were talking.
Yeah, for like 2 hours.
I'm like, because I think I said to you, you know, like, actually, it was that conversation that we had that reminded me that I wanted to do this. So, I had this idea like 8 years ago or 6 years
it's
ago.
It's cool. I've enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
it's honest, dude.
Well, so basically, you know, what I did is I looked back on the conversations that I had, and I made my notes based off on that.
That's cool.
So, you know, basically, my notes here are just in case.
Yeah.
Because usually we get to everything that I have in my notes anyway, because that's just where the conversation goes.
We'll touch on it a little bit.
So really,
so yeah, basically
that's it.
The whole evolution, like the origins. Like I said, I blab a lot. I think I'm like ADD or something, so my thoughts race like crazy. But the whole origins of my guitar playing, we pretty much touched on a little bit of where I was coming from. But I definitely think like, yeah, from like 11 to 15 is where I was like really getting acquainted with it, and I'd say from like 15 to now, I'm like truly like comfortable with it, and like I'm still learning, which is what I love, and like I'm still like figuring out these crazy licks in my head, and like trying to like do them, and like pushing myself constantly. Like I just feel like you need the I don't know, to get good. I don't that's such a like. Is that a subjective term? Could you say that's a subjective term?
It could be, but I think most people
so like are
on the same page.
That's a question. I know we're running over, whatever. This can be cut
okay.
out. Now I'm just talking. I'm 3 beers in, and I'm a wimp. But
dude, I stopped pressing the record. I pressed the stop button 45 minutes ago, dude.
Oh
no, I'm just kidding.
So like I don't know. One question I hate is like, you know, like when you tell someone that last beer is for you if you want it. Please have it. Please have it. Take it home with you.
I wouldn't finish it.
Take it home with you.
Dude, I've got 3 beers sitting in the fridge that've been there for 2 months.
I'm the same way. But so what drives me like crazy is like, you know, people, you'll tell someone you're in a band, and they'll be like, you know, like, what do you play? And you're like, oh, I'm guitar. And then like the first question I always get asked after I tell someone I play guitar is like, are you good? And I'm like, I am so uncomfortable with answering that.
You know how I respond to that?
Huh.
I say, well, I've been playing a long time.
See, and that's usually like, I'm like, well, and that's the thing. Like, I'll have to say that, and then I'll be like, I mean, or I'll be like, I'm comfortable with my instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something
But
like
I feel so like, it's just not in my character to say, yeah, like right off the bat. Like, you know, like I know I'm good, quote unquote, but that doesn't matter. Cause like I might be good to your average person, but to me, like,
so it goes back to that definition of good thing.
Yeah, totally. I'm always learning, and it's like that's all that matters. Like, that's all I care about. I care about being good. I care about being like pushing my limits constantly.
Yeah,
that's what good is to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm good to myself because I know I'm constantly being true to what I know I can do on guitar and like where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that to me is good. That's what's good to myself. I know, see, now I'm just sounding cocky. You're
pleasing yourself.
I know I'm good because exactly I'm pleasing myself. And I don't care
easy
if I'm
there,
like
buddy.
making some
easy.
Yeah, I mean, but like people in the crowd are like, yeah, sweet, but I'm like, that's cool. Like I'm glad you're enjoying it, but like there's nights where I played so awful and like people are like, dude, that was killer. I'm like, dude, I don't even want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I sucked.
Yeah.
And then there's nights where I'm like, damn, like I actually blew myself away. I can't believe I played like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked. I love shit like that. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like being a musician or an artist in general, you should always just be in it for yourself. Always. Always, always, always. And that's where I am now with my playing.
Very interesting topic. But that is definitely another discussion. But I'll say one more thing. I was gonna say, what would you leave people with? And you did that anyway, basically.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to leave it on.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
See, that's
I'm
what
in
I
a
said.
band called Cloudcatcher.
That's the last thing, yeah. Yeah.
Rory Rummings. Hit me up on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter, but yeah. Anyway.
But hit him up there anyway.
Yeah, fuck it.
Just make up a fake Rory Rummings account so you can hit him up.
What I tweet about. I'd follow Trump just to laugh. But anyway, cool. Yeah.
So, you guys got another album coming out soon? Right?
March. Yep.
Okay, March.
We recorded it. We recorded it last March. So it's basically going to be like a year old. The material and the recordings are. Although I do wish we could re-record the album now, but money is permitting that, of course. But yeah, it's coming out in March. On Totem Cat Records, a European label based in France. That sounds super American, but yeah, it's a French label. And then we're going to be hitting the road March 11th. Oh, that's like an official thing right now. You're like, this is the first time.
way.
Yeah.
All
March
right.
11th is the album release at the High Dive. Then we're going on tour.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, man. I can't believe that's what Coors Banquet will do to you. But yeah, so March 11th's the album release, and then we'll be doing a tour down to South by Southwest, and then from there we'll be going to like the Midwest for the first time. The South by Southwest, like southern leg of the tour, is gonna be with the Munsons, and
cool.
then we're gonna be playing a few shows, like 6 or 7 shows in the Midwest with this band called Bison Machine from Detroit.
And you will be going through Chicago,
Yeah,
right?
I'll be going through Chicago. We're going to be playing with a really cool band out there called Dead Feathers, and we'll be playing a few shows.
I know about the Dead Feathers.
Yeah, we'll be playing with the Dead. They played in June with like Moss Generator and Love Gang. They're awesome. But yeah, so we'll be playing with them. We pretty much just have like heavy plans to tour next year. So I got this awesome job with awesome people that like allows me to tour and stuff. So yeah, man, I'm gonna bust my ass for them and bust my ass for the band. That's pretty much my plan.
And that company, which I think is cool to mention.
WMD, yeah, WMD.
And they do like effects pedals essentially and synthesizer stuff.
Like, oh, dude, the stuff that they're doing, I really can't. I'd say like them and like, as far as like crazy out of the box pedals go, like WMD and Earthquaker Devices are like my favorite pedal companies, but like, when it comes to like straight Earthquaker Devices,
it just makes me think of like a Quaker, like a religious person.
I just think of oatmeal, but
exactly.
Yeah, they're out of Akron, the home of the hamburger. But yeah, they're awesome. But I'd say like my favorite effects pedal, like I'd say my favorite fuzz and like dirt and overdrive, like when you just want your amp to sound like it's molten, is Black Arts Toneworks, man. I'm endorsed by them, and I'm not just saying that because I'm endorsed by them, but they blow.
That's what you liked anyway.
They blew my mind. Yeah, we were talking about this before the podcast, but that's like, is this a podcast? Is that what you would call it?
I have no idea.
Whatever, a podcast. I don't know. But yeah, so
2 guys and 2 mics. That's
two guys and 2. Oh Jesus, and 3 beers. But
that sounds like
that sounds like a good time.
Questionable.
But yeah, I love effects pedals and stuff like that. So this whole, if we got into like a gear talk, it'd be like another hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of.
We should do that sometime though.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I
would learn a lot about that. You know, I know.
Dude,
you know more about that than you.
I'm still learning like crazy shit, but like, yeah, man.
We could get Brady in on that too.
Oh God, I would love to get Brady in on that. There would probably be, yeah, that would be fun. I'll say something off camera or off mic, but yeah. But cool.
So then, you guys have where do people find your stuff online? Where's the best place?
We have a Bandcamp. I don't know the URL because it's like a long.
I'll find the URL. And put
Cloudcatcher-Bandcamp.
Yeah,
something like that. If you just search Cloudcatcher and Bandcamp, I'm sure it'll come up. Google.
Yeah. Or look in the URL or the YouTube video description. I'll post a link there.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Or you can reach us on Facebook. We have an Instagram as well. But yeah, so March 11th is when the album's coming out. We'll probably have pre-orders for the LP, like the actual vinyl, within the next few months, and then
So where do people do that then if they want to?
Bandcamp for sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and then I don't know if this will be. I know we did this a little bit later. I don't know if this is gonna come out this month or next month.
I'm just gonna release it right away. Yeah.
Please do, yeah. So basically, since it's gonna be released right away next month, we will be revealing the album cover.
Oh, cool.
I think I'll show you that after this, and then like the track listing, and then our tour dates, because we're gonna be basically touring middle of March to the end of March. Big plans for next year.
So like them on Facebook so that way you don't miss that stuff.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm telling you, this is actually literally my favorite local band. And I've been seeing these guys for a long time, and I hit up
Yeah.
almost all their shows. And
Thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate that, man.
And
We're all
Luna
super
Soul is
grateful.
another one of my favorites. Those are my
Luna Soul
two
is
favorites
awesome.
for sure.
Rock and roll, man.
But I'm kind of picky. So if you if that means anything to you who's listening, just take a moment and check it out.
Yeah.
Because it's cool. Real
Thank
cool.
you. Yeah, please.
A lot
check
of
us
integrity in their music too, which is becoming a lost thing these days.
Come
at
see
least
us-
mainstream.
Come see us live for sure. A live show is definitely where we want to see you. Listening to us is awesome, but like, please see us live. That's like the best example of what Cloudcatcher is as an entity.
Definitely, and it's a fun band to watch. You don't ever get to watch yourself, so
Yeah, I make weird faces, and Jared does too. I make noises when I play guitar, but like I've literally like we've jammed, and like I've heard Jared like he'll just open his mouth and go like because he's like doing something so. It cracks me up, but yeah, definitely come check us out live. It's
now I'm
it's
gonna
a
be
blast
watching
to
for
play.
that.
Yeah, you can hear it, dude.
All
Give
right.
him a mic.
Peace out, America.
Yeah.
Or
Thanks for
anywhere
having me,
else.
Alex. Appreciate it.